Ed, should we play this clip?
Yes.
You said that you worried about peasants who form sub-communities. Now, you can explain to me what you mean, but one way of reading this would be that you would prefer to have more middle-class Nigerians and fewer people from rural backgrounds in Bangladesh.
Let me be very, very clear. Immigration is too high, across the board, legal or illegal. But the point I was making there was about a specific report on that community of people who are predominant in the rape gangs. They did come from a particular place where they were mostly peasant farmers. They were insular, even from the rest of Pakistan. They're not like the people in Lahore. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to fix. And we should not be afraid to talk about that.
So we're going to apply a class lens to our immigration.
And this is, Trevor, forgive me, this is one of the problems, that when there is an issue where we have victims, girls are being raped and attacked, the conversation is more about the language that we're using. Well, what should we call the people? We can't be shy about things like that. And that's what I'm most interested in, the victim.
So that's Kemi Badenoch there.
Good grief.
Describing peasants who formed sub-communities. Wow.
It is insane.
Wow.
It is like...
It's the way that she came back with, let me be clear, immigration is too high. It's like you've just described people as peasants. In the 21st century, you described someone as peasants. It's like she doesn't... We were trying to understand this in the office and trying to work this out right. And it was almost like, okay, so you can really make the case that because Nigel Farage is sort of like licking at her heels, or actually probably the other way around now, chasing the Conservative...
Did you say opposition. Licking at her heel?
Yes, exactly what I said. I said what I said. Said what I said. Anyway.
That's a horrible image.
Anyway, she is trying to emulate some of the reform formula, right?
Yep.
But every time she does this, she seems to go way over the mark. So Nigel Farage will say something that's like, we need to bring down immigration at any cost. And then she'll go, peasants are here. And it's like...
It's too late for that, Nigel. I think it's something about, like... There's something about, like... She's suggesting that this group of people, there's an inevitability to, like, things like the grooming gangs taking place. But like, well, what did you expect? They're peasants from Bangalore. Like, as if, like, well, they're savages.
She said something mental as well. She was like, they're not from Lahore. And it was like, what where the non-peasants are from? Like, what?
It's becoming a bit skull measuring and being like, well, they've also got the ethnotype of the agricultural labourer.
Yeah. She was like, they're from villages. They're Kashmiri villages. Peasants. Sorry?
You can't expect them to live in a city.
There was a very good line of questioning, I thought, from Trevor Phillips there, because it was how on earth do you ask how do you interrogate something as ridiculous as that? It's oh God, when people always say, I feel sorry for the satirists. How do you satirize this? This is one of those moments. How do you talk about the leader of the opposition being on one of the flagship broadcast shows talking about peasants?
I wonder about... She's trying to mimic Farage's rhetoric, but because she has her own feelings about subclasses and subgroups of humans, that's rising to the fore instead of being like, stop the boats. Only stop the boats if it's full of peasants. Just peasants and agricultural labourers. It's kind of caste. It's like a caste system almost.
Well, yeah, it is if you're describing someone as peasants.
Oh, yeah. But being like, well, we can only take... Oh, I don't know the Indian caste system well enough, but like, we can only take Brahmin. We must only have Brahmin coming to the UK.
Well, I don't know. I'll have to consult the listener. Do you agree with Ed?
That's my genuinely held opinion. Or did you like? I showed sending that clip of that podcast I was on, and people are going to misuse the...
when you said fuck the Catholics and
I was quoting someone who said fuck Catholics and fuck the Pope.
That's what you said.
But it just says screenshot of me saying fuck Catholics, screenshot of me saying fuck the Pope.
I think it was very interesting watching the Kemi Badenoch round yesterday morning because, as I said earlier, this is the first time that she's properly gone out and done a media round since that speech she gave to Onward, where she was resetting the Conservative agenda. And it sort of proved why she doesn't do interviews.
Yeah.
Why they don't put her up for interview.
Because she's really weird.
I was thinking about how she didn't really speak during the farmers' protest, and that was a really wide open goal for a Conservative leader, and it was one that Nigel Farage really took. I mean, he became the central star of that fallout, you know, when Labour put on the inheritance tax on farmers, because he was down on Downing Street, he was at the tractor protest, he was pictured in the tractors, he was out there for hours. He dominated that story, him and Jeremy Clarkson. Badenoch was absolutely nowhere to be seen. And then when she does actually appear above the parapet, she does things like get things wrong. So over Christmas, Farage and Reform announced that they had surpassed 150,000, 130,000?
Members.
133,000 members they surpassed because it was the Conservative membership that they overtook. Instead of being a diplomatic leader, diplomatic's a bit strong, I don't know, someone with a bit of nous,
Yeah.
and saying something like, this is evidence that the Conservatives need to reconsider what their members want from their party, and I want to be the person to entice people back to us. She went, bit in the back end, Nigel. Liar. Wrong. And then, but if you're going to say something like that, you need to be sure.
Yeah, you need to be bang on.
Because it shouldn't be like, also like, this is like quite open information, right? Like basically what she was claiming was that one of her aides had gone into the back end and looked at it. And Reform were like, how the hell would you have gone into the back end?
Yeah.
And looked
it's not like
at
open
Artica?
source data.
Exactly.
It's not on GitHub.
Yeah. Do you think you're WikiLeaks? Like, what are you talking about?
Do you think she didn't do the farmer thing because they're peasants? Do you think she objects to any agricultural form of labour?
Do you think that's what it is?
I think it is that. And she went, well, why would I help out peasants?
Do you think she wanted to go out there to call them all peasants, and they were having to hold her in the office in CCHQ?
Oh, peasants! You should be grateful for a turnip for dinner. Actually, you should not be. You should be. You should be grateful that my lord deigns to provide you with enough turnips for winter.
Yeah.
Actually,
it is quite feudal still, the farming system, isn't it? A lot of them are tenant farmers who literally like work for a lord. Do you remember when I interviewed that guy? What was his name? The Duke of... Man who should not be named. What was his name?
the Duke of Rainsborough.
I'm asking about how am I supposed to refer to him if I'm not allowed to name him?
We should come up with a fake
Is he
name
back
for him.
there? Studio boy?
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry, were you at I assume...
That entire time I was talking to you.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was a content-related question. What was the...
Duke of Rutland, was it?
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all.
Let's come up with a name for Studio Boy.
Yeah, what should we call you if we
Peter.
can't call you your real name?
You can call me a member of the production staff. You can call me a colleague.
A
No, but
friend.
you don't
No,
answer.
you can't call me a friend.
He just said we can't call him a friend. I
But
like
you
Pe-
didn't answer to any of the other times
I
that
like
interviewed
Peter.
Sorry,
Peter.
I genuinely thought you were talking to Laura.
Peter Crouch actually works in the production team. That's one who can't be named.
Peter Crouch?
Yeah.
Peter, when I played football at primary school, they didn't put my name on the team sheet. They put Peter Crouch because I was so tall.
You are very tall.
You do have a bit of the Peter Crouch about you.
And it's not just because we see you out with Abby Clancy all the time.
Kemi.
Oh, the point was, sorry, the Duke of Rutland thing was that...
For the listener, Ava just knocked her notepad off the table, kind of apropos of nothing. It was like you picked it up and dropped it of your own volition. You were in total control of that there.
That was actually what it looked like when they were trying to drag Kemi Badenoch in so that she wouldn't go out to Whitehall and shout
She was slashing the tyres of the tractors.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be lucky, pal. Have you seen how expensive them tyres are and how big they are?
She was getting one of those zombie knives that you can buy and just
She bought it off Instagram.
off Instagram. She was buying drugs from Snapchat, zombie knives from Instagram,
Yeah.
and attacking time. She's like, not the You Live Blade Runners, the
And then posting it on that like
I forgot-
Chinese state-run version of TikTok.
what was I forget this each time. I forgot this group last week. You know the people who slash the tires of like 4x4s?
You were calling them Blade Runners. And
Yeah,
they're
but
Blade
that's not.
Runners.
I've forgotten their name again. But she's that for tractors.
Okay.
That-
Tractor
Tractor
Slazenger? I don't know.
Tractor Slazenger.
This is like when I said that word. What was that word?
I've got no idea.
Just before Christmas, do you remember? I just like completely, I couldn't get the hang of that word.
Kind of. I do kind of remember that. If you were running the Tories comms department, what would you be doing?
Well, I'd probably be working on this. So this YouGov poll from earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago in January, It still is January for people watching this today.
This is dog shit.
This is terrible. Sorry, we're really not very well today. Who would make the best Prime Minister was asked, and the public came back 20% for Farage, 19% for Starmer, 9% for Badenoch.
9.
And to put that in perspective, 8% said Ed Davey.
Holy shit.
44% said they didn't know. I don't know about the maths on that one.
44% said they didn't know.
Maybe they said they didn't know on top. Maybe you could have multi-choice.
Yeah, I
answers.
guess so. That seems. Yeah, the
Maybe
maths on that
1%
isn't great.
said green. I don't know.
1% said a job share with Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No pylons anywhere. I'd be looking at that if I was a advisor at CCHQ, and I would be terrified, and I would probably be reassessing their MO at the moment, which is to drift further right than Farage to try and pick up the people who have left the party. Okay, so I was looking at her onward speech. She had this list of grievances, right? And the list of grievances didn't really make sense to me because I actually thought this could have been in a Labour speech. The grievances were business regulation, energy supply, foreign interference, a fertility crisis, and a lack of productivity. And I thought, and something about immigration. That is a Labour speech that Keir Starmer pretty much delivered something verbatim of things that they wanted to tackle. So she's basically trying to incorporate two things that are failing to cut through with both the Reform and Labour Party, and deciding that actually should be their entire policy strategy.
Yes. The fertility one's interesting because does the government make a big thing about fertility in this country? I know the Tories certainly do, like about like natalism and things like that, and about people having to have more children.
Yeah.
It's like an AtCon thing, but I didn't know. But is that? I'm more just asking, do Labour talk about that?
Well, yeah, in terms of like Rayner, when she's talking about house building, she does say like people don't want to start a family because they're not on the housing ladder.
Yeah.
So I suppose it does kind of come into it there. But they're not quite on the sort of Miriam Cates, like get out there and fuck.
No job for women.
Yeah.
Proper job for women. Mother.
Yeah.
Breed.
Breed.
Breeding machine.
Do you know what's creepy? I was listening to Lord Heseltine earlier on Politics Live. Former Deputy Prime Minister, of course. And he was talking about how all of the conditions at the moment are quite 1930s Europe, and leaders, especially throughout Europe and the US, are now exploiting the economic hardship. And it's all coming out in the wash in, like, you know, the sort of politics that we're witnessing, like the AFD, the rise, what's going on in France, US, da-da-da. Why has no one spoken to Heseltine about the low birth rate thing? Because is that not a Hitler Youth thing? Didn't you used to get like a medal?
For like how many mothers? I think it was a Hitler Youth thing. I think it was a Hitler Women's thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because they couldn't encourage.
Oh, you could become of age before you had to.
Yeah, it wasn't
stop
like.
breeding.
I think Hitler Youth was just boys as well.
Bit of a mistake.
I love talking about the intricacies of World War II.
But they did, didn't they? They did say that.
No, I think
you
women. I
got
think
medals
like
for...
what's German for mother? Mutter. Yeah, the Ubermutter
Not very
got
creative,
like.
that, was it? Might as well just stuck with the original. That's how language works.
Just the Ubermutter.
England was first.
If you had 10 children, I think you got like a prize.
Robert Jenrick was out just before the weekend doing a video for GB News in which he lamented how half of the courtrooms have closed.
Gosh.
Anyway, that's happened between 2010 and 2024.
Who was in charge then?
Someone.
When I find out who did that.
I know. And do you know what's crazy is that while he was Justice Secretary, he could have opened them again. What else were you up to? Oh, do you know what else is interesting? The Sun this morning were reporting that Kemi Badenoch last Monday was invited to a briefing by Downing Street, a Privy Council style briefing on the Southport situation.
Yeah.
The Southport killer. She didn't go. She sent Chris Philp. So for all of that bluster about, I need to be kept in the loop about what's going on with Southport and terrorism and radicalisation, she didn't even turn up to the meeting.